Every evening, you close your eyes and surrender to the darkness, believing you're simply powering down for the night. Your body grows heavy, your thoughts begin to scatter, and consciousness appears to fade away like a candle being slowly extinguished. But what if everything you've been taught about this nightly ritual is backwards? What if sleep isn't the end of awareness but the beginning of something far more profound? What if the moment you think you're switching off is actually when your most sacred inner technology comes alive? Right now, as you listen to these words, something extraordinary is preparing to happen inside your mind. Tonight, when you lay down and feel that familiar drift toward unconsciousness, you won't just be resting. You'll be embarking on a journey through dimensions of reality that science barely understands and most people never recognize. Because hidden within your sleep cycles is a divine mapping system, an ancient navigation tool that's been guiding human consciousness for millennia. Think about the last time you had a dream so vivid it haunted you for days. Remember that feeling of waking up knowing something important had happened, even though you couldn't quite grasp what it was. That wasn't random neural activity. That was your soul receiving coordinates from a realm beyond ordinary perception. Every night, without your conscious awareness, you're being given directions to places your waking mind has never imagined. The truth is, sleep is not unconsciousness. It's a different form of consciousness entirely. While your physical body lies motionless, another version of you steps into landscapes that defy every law of physics you've ever learned. You walk through cities that have never existed on any earthly map. You converse with beings who speak directly to your heart. You solve problems that stumped you for years, and you remember truths you thought you'd forgotten forever. But here's what makes this even more remarkable. These aren't just random experiences floating through your sleeping mind. They're precisely crafted journeys designed by the deepest intelligence within you. Every symbol, every emotion, every bizarre twist of logic in your dreams is part of an intricate guidance system that operates beyond the reach of your analytical thinking. Your dreaming mind doesn't just create stories. It creates entire universes with their own consistent rules, populated by characters who each represent different aspects of your psyche. And within these universes, you're not just a passive observer. You're an active participant, making choices, facing challenges, and receiving insights that your conscious mind could never access on its own. Scientists have discovered that during certain phases of sleep, your brain becomes more active than it is during your most intense waking moments. The regions responsible for logic and linear thinking quiet down, while the areas connected to intuition, creativity, and emotional processing burst into extraordinary activity. It's as if your mind is switching from day mode to night mode, from survival consciousness to soul consciousness. This shift happens in stages, like a rocket shedding layers as it reaches higher altitudes. First, you enter light sleep, where your brain produces alpha waves similar to those found in deep meditation. Then you descend into theta states, the same frequencies experienced by shamans and mystics during their most profound spiritual journeys. Finally, you reach the delta realm, where your body heals and regenerates while your consciousness touches something timeless and infinite. But the real magic happens when you cycle back up into REM sleep. This is when the divine map reveals itself most clearly. Your logical mind, that constant commentator that narrates your every waking moment, steps aside. And in its absence, a deeper intelligence takes the stage. Your limbic system, the ancient emotional brain, begins orchestrating experiences that feel more real than reality itself. During these precious hours, your subconscious mind becomes both artist and architect, weaving together memories, desires, fears, and aspirations into narratives that speak directly to your soul. Every character you encounter in your dreams is you, reflecting different facets of your inner world. Every landscape you explore represents some aspect of your psychological terrain. Every challenge you face mirrors a growth opportunity waiting in your waking life. This is why some dreams leave such profound impressions. They're not entertainment for your sleeping mind. They're messages from your highest self, encoded in a symbolic language that bypasses your rational defenses and speaks directly to your heart. When you dream of flying, you're remembering your unlimited nature. When you dream of being chased, you're confronting something you've been avoiding. When you dream of deceased loved ones, you're accessing a level of connection that transcends physical reality. Ancient cultures understood this sacred dimension of sleep. They didn't dismiss dreams as mere fantasies but honored them as communications from the divine realm. Native American traditions speak of the dreamtime as a parallel reality where souls journey to receive guidance and healing. Aboriginal Australians describe the dreamtime as the foundational layer of existence, the source from which all physical reality emerges. Hindu and Buddhist teachings recognize dream yoga as a spiritual practice that can lead to enlightenment. These weren't primitive beliefs. They were sophisticated understandings of consciousness that we're only now beginning to rediscover through neuroscience and quantum physics. What our ancestors called journeying to the spirit world, we now recognize as the extraordinary neuroplasticity of the sleeping brain. What they described as receiving visions from the gods, we understand as the profound problem-solving capacity of the unconscious mind. But the divine map hidden in your sleep offers more than just personal guidance. It connects you to something much larger than your individual experience. In the deepest phases of dreaming, you tap into what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious, a vast field of shared human memory and archetypal wisdom. This is why you sometimes dream of symbols, places, or beings that feel ancient and universal, even though you've never encountered them before. Your sleeping mind doesn't just access your personal history. It draws from the entire human story, from the deepest wells of meaning and mythology that unite our species. When you dream of floods, fires, or great journeys, you're not just processing your individual anxieties. You're touching the fundamental patterns that have shaped human consciousness for thousands of years. This is the true purpose of the divine map. It's not just showing you where you've been or where you're going personally. It's revealing your place in the grand tapestry of human experience, your connection to the eternal themes and challenges that every soul must navigate. Through your dreams, you participate in the collective healing and evolution of consciousness itself. The map works through layers of meaning, like a multi-dimensional treasure hunt where each clue leads deeper into truth. On the surface level, your dreams might seem to be about everyday concerns, processing the events and emotions of your waking life. But beneath that obvious layer, they're working on much more profound levels of integration and growth. Sometimes the map guides you through emotional territories you've been afraid to explore. You might find yourself in a dream confronting someone who hurt you years ago, finally finding the courage to speak your truth or discover forgiveness. Other times, it takes you into realms of pure creativity, showing you solutions to problems that seemed impossible or revealing artistic visions that inspire your waking work. The divine map also serves as a bridge between different aspects of your consciousness. It helps integrate your shadow, those parts of yourself you've rejected or hidden. In dreams, you might find yourself befriending someone you initially feared or discovering strength in qualities you thought were weaknesses. This integration is essential for wholeness, for becoming the complete person you came here to be. One of the most remarkable features of this inner mapping system is how it adapts to your current needs and level of development. Early in life, your dreams might focus on basic security and identity formation. As you mature, they shift toward themes of relationship, career, and creative expression. In later years, they often turn toward questions of meaning, legacy, and spiritual connection. The map is also incredibly responsive to your conscious intentions. When you approach sleep with reverence and curiosity, when you ask for guidance before closing your eyes, the dreams that come are often more vivid, meaningful, and memorable. It's as if your conscious respect for the process activates deeper levels of the divine navigation system. This is why many spiritual traditions include practices for preparing for sleep as sacred time. They understand that the transition from waking to dreaming consciousness is a threshold moment, an opportunity to set intentions and open to guidance. Some meditate before sleep, others pray, and still others practice specific techniques for maintaining awareness as they drift into dreams. The hypnagogic state, that twilight zone between waking and sleeping, is particularly rich with navigational information. In this liminal space, your logical mind relaxes its grip while your intuitive faculties become extraordinarily sensitive. You might see colors and patterns behind your closed eyes, hear music that seems to come from another realm, or receive sudden insights that feel like downloads from a higher intelligence. Many great inventors, artists, and spiritual teachers have learned to access this threshold state intentionally. They understood that the divine map is most accessible when the conscious mind steps out of the way but awareness remains present. In this delicate balance between control and surrender, profound revelations become possible. The map doesn't just operate through obvious dream imagery. It also works through the subtle energetics of sleep itself. Have you ever noticed how sometimes you wake up feeling completely refreshed and optimized after just a few hours of sleep, while other times you feel exhausted despite sleeping for many hours? This isn't just about sleep quantity or even quality in the conventional sense. It's about how effectively your consciousness navigated the deeper dimensions during the night. When you're aligned with the divine map, when your sleeping mind successfully processes what it needs to process and receives what it needs to receive, you wake up with a sense of completion and renewal that goes far beyond physical rest. You feel mentally clear, emotionally balanced, and spiritually nourished. You might not remember specific dreams, but you carry their essence with you throughout the day. This is why paying attention to how you feel upon waking can be just as important as remembering your dreams. Your energy level, your emotional state, your sense of clarity or confusion, all of these are feedback from your navigation system, indicating how well you utilized the divine map during the night. The map also operates through synchronicities and patterns that extend beyond the sleeping hours themselves. You might dream about water one night, then encounter unexpected references to water throughout the following day. Or you might dream about a childhood friend and then receive news about them. These aren't coincidences. They're confirmations that you're reading the map correctly, that the guidance you received in sleep is continuing to unfold in your waking reality. Learning to work consciously with the divine map can transform not just your sleep but your entire life. When you begin to recognize the profound intelligence operating through your dreams, you develop trust in your inner guidance system. You start making decisions based not just on logical analysis but on the deeper knowing that emerges from your nighttime journeys. This trust extends into your waking relationships and creative endeavors. You become more intuitive, more responsive to subtle energies and opportunities. You find yourself in the right place at the right time more often, as if the universe is conspiring to support your highest path. Because in a very real sense, it is. The divine map doesn't just operate in isolation. It's connected to the larger intelligence that orchestrates all of existence. The implications of this understanding are staggering. If every human being has access to this divine mapping system, if every night we're all journeying through dimensions of consciousness that connect us to infinite wisdom and to each other, then sleep becomes one of the most democratically distributed spiritual practices on the planet. No special training is required, no expensive equipment or exclusive teachings. The doorway to transcendence is available to anyone willing to approach their pillow with reverence and attention. This is perhaps why certain forces in our modern world seem intent on disrupting healthy sleep patterns. Constant artificial light, digital stimulation before bed, anxiety about productivity, all of these interfere with our natural ability to access the divine map. When we're cut off from deep, restorative sleep, we're cut off from one of our most powerful sources of guidance and healing. But the map is resilient. Even under challenging circumstances, even with limited sleep, the intelligence within you continues to work. It adapts, it compensates, it finds ways to deliver essential messages and healing. Your job is simply to create the best conditions you can for this sacred process and then trust what emerges. As you prepare for sleep tonight, remember that you're not just ending another day. You're preparing to embark on a journey that has the potential to transform your understanding of yourself and your place in the cosmos. The divine map is waiting to guide you through territories of consciousness that exist beyond the boundaries of ordinary reality, territories where healing happens, wisdom is transmitted, and the soul remembers its true nature. Close your eyes with anticipation rather than mere fatigue. Approach the threshold of sleep as you would approach a sacred temple, with respect and wonder for the mysteries that await. The divine map hidden in your sleep has been calling to you your entire life. Tonight, perhaps you'll finally answer that call and discover the extraordinary guidance that has always been available in the darkness behind your eyelids. Your dreams are not random. Your sleep is not empty time. And you are not powerless in the realm of unconsciousness. You are the explorer in the territory, the seeker and the treasure, navigating by starlight through the infinite landscapes of your own divine nature. The map is already within you. All you have to do is trust it to guide you home. What if I told you that every single night, while you're peacefully sleeping, your brain is secretly drawing you the most detailed map to the divine that has ever existed? Not metaphorically, not symbolically, but literally creating a neurochemical pathway that connects you directly to the source of all consciousness. You think you know what sleep is. You think it's just your body shutting down, your mind going dark, 8 hours of nothing before you wake up and return to the real world. But what's actually happening inside your skull every night is so profound, so mystically precise, that it would make ancient shamans weep with recognition and modern scientists question everything they thought they knew about reality. There's a molecule dancing through your brain right now. A compound so powerful that when scientists first isolated it, they didn't call it a chemical. They called it the spirit molecule. And your pineal gland, that tiny pine cone-shaped structure buried deep in your brain that mystics have revered for thousands of years as the seat of the soul, is manufacturing this substance every single night while you sleep. It's called DMT. And it's not just changing your dreams. It's rewriting the entire architecture of what you believe is possible. Listen carefully because this changes everything. When you close your eyes tonight and drift into REM sleep, your brain doesn't just flip a switch and go offline. It transforms into something that would be completely unrecognizable to your waking consciousness. It becomes a sophisticated broadcasting station, a multidimensional antenna, a sacred temple where the impossible becomes routine. The DMT flowing through your neural pathways during deep sleep isn't there by accident. It's not some evolutionary leftover or biological mistake. It's the most intelligent design system ever created. A nightly reminder that the reality you experience during the day, the solid world of objects and limitations, is just the surface layer of an infinitely deeper truth. Think about your most vivid dreams. The ones where you can fly without questioning how. The ones where you meet people who feel more real than your closest friends. The ones where you receive information you couldn't have possibly known, visit places that exist nowhere on Earth, yet feel like home. The ones where time moves like honey and you can be multiple ages simultaneously. You've been taught to dismiss these experiences as neural static, random firing of synapses, meaningless fragments of memory reshuffling themselves. But what if that's the greatest lie you've ever been told? What if those dreams aren't random at all, but carefully orchestrated journeys into dimensions that are actually more real, more fundamental, than the physical world you inhabit during waking hours? Because here's what neuroscientists are just beginning to discover. During REM sleep, when DMT levels spike in your brain, something extraordinary happens to your consciousness. The default mode network, the part of your brain that maintains your sense of individual identity, that creates the story of who you think you are, essentially goes offline. The boundaries that separate you from everything else begin to dissolve. And in that dissolution, in that sacred space where the ego temporarily dies, your awareness expands beyond the confines of your physical body and connects with something vast. Something ancient. Something that knows you better than you know yourself. The pineal gland has been called the third eye by cultures across the globe for millennia. The Egyptians painted it as the Eye of Horus. Hindu traditions describe it as the Ajna Chakra, the center of cosmic consciousness. Indigenous shamans worldwide have always known that this small gland is the gateway between worlds. Modern science is finally catching up to what mystics have understood forever. This isn't just a gland that regulates your sleep cycle. It's your biological stargate. Every night, as your pineal gland releases DMT into your system, you're literally returning home. Home to a state of consciousness that existed before you were born and will continue to exist long after your physical body returns to dust. This is why certain dreams feel more real than reality. Because they are accessing a layer of existence that transcends the physical realm entirely. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The DMT experience isn't limited to sleep. When people consume larger doses through various means, they report remarkably consistent experiences across all cultures, all backgrounds, all belief systems. They describe meeting beings of pure light and intelligence. They encounter geometric patterns that seem to contain the blueprints of creation itself. They experience a love so profound, so unconditional, that they spend the rest of their lives trying to find words for it. And here's the key insight. These aren't hallucinations. They're communications. Communications from the deeper layers of consciousness that exist beyond the veil of ordinary perception. And every single night, through the natural production of DMT during sleep, you're getting smaller doses of these same communications. Gentler visits to these same realms. Your dreams are not random movies playing in your head. They are sacred downloads. Messages from the universe itself, speaking to you in the only language your conscious mind will accept. Experience. Consider this. Throughout history, the greatest scientific discoveries, the most profound artistic creations, the most revolutionary spiritual insights, have come to people in dreams. Tesla received the blueprints for alternating current in a dream. Kekulé discovered the structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake eating its own tail. Mary Shelley dreamed the entire plot of Frankenstein. The Beatles received entire songs in their sleep. Were these just coincidences? Random neural firings that happened to create genius? Or were these individuals temporarily accessing the same field of infinite intelligence that you visit every single night, but have forgotten how to remember? The indigenous peoples of the Amazon have used ayahuasca, a DMT-containing brew, for thousands of years. But they don't call it a drug. They call it a teacher. A plant teacher that shows them the interconnected web of all existence. They use it to heal diseases, to communicate with the spirits of their ancestors, to receive guidance for their communities. What they understand, and what Western science is just beginning to grasp, is that DMT doesn't create these experiences. It reveals them. It pulls back the curtain on layers of reality that are always there, always available, always trying to communicate with you. But the noise of ordinary consciousness, the constant chatter of the thinking mind, usually drowns out these subtle signals. Sleep is nature's daily psychedelic experience. Every night, your consciousness enters a state that shamans spend decades learning to achieve. And you do it effortlessly, naturally, automatically. You are already an interdimensional traveler. You already have access to realms of infinite wisdom and healing. You've just forgotten how to pay attention. The divine map hidden in your sleep isn't just showing you where you can go. It's showing you where you came from. It's reminding you that your true nature isn't limited to the boundaries of your physical body, isn't confined to the brief span of your biological life, isn't separate from the cosmic intelligence that orchestrates the dance of galaxies and atoms alike. When you dream of flying, you're not imagining what it would be like to defy gravity. You're remembering what it feels like to exist as pure consciousness, unencumbered by physical limitations. When you dream of meeting loved ones who have died, you're not creating fantasy scenarios. You're accessing the timeless realm where all souls continue to exist. When you dream of receiving profound insights about your life, you're not making things up. You're downloading wisdom from your higher self, the part of you that exists beyond time and space and sees your entire life from a perspective of infinite love and understanding. The reason sleep paralysis feels so terrifying to some people isn't because malevolent entities are attacking them. It's because they're encountering the threshold guardians that exist at the boundary between dimensions. Every shamanic tradition speaks of these beings. They're not there to harm you. They're there to test whether you're ready to cross over consciously, whether you can face the dissolution of your individual identity without panic. But here's the most mind-bending truth of all. The visions you experience during DMT-infused sleep aren't just personal. They're collective. You're not just accessing your own deeper consciousness. You're tapping into the unified field of awareness that connects all living beings. This is why people separated by continents and centuries report identical imagery during profound altered states. They're all visiting the same cosmic library, the same Akashic records, the same source code of reality itself. Scientists are discovering that consciousness might not be produced by the brain at all, but rather received by it, like a radio tuning into different frequencies. And during sleep, especially during REM phases when DMT levels peak, your biological radio is tuning into stations that broadcast from dimensions beyond the physical universe. This means that your dreams might actually be more real than your waking life. The solid world you navigate during the day might be the illusion, and the fluid, symbolic, multidimensional realm you visit in sleep might be the fundamental layer of existence. Matter emerging from mind, rather than mind emerging from matter. Ancient wisdom traditions have always taught this. Maya, the Hindu concept of illusion, suggests that the physical world is a projection of consciousness, not the source of it. The Tibetan concept of Bardo describes intermediate states between life and death where consciousness exists in pure form, unencumbered by physical embodiment. Indigenous Dreamtime traditions speak of the dreaming as the creative source from which all material reality emerges. Modern physics is catching up to these ancient insights. Quantum mechanics reveals that consciousness plays a fundamental role in the manifestation of reality. The observer effect shows that the act of conscious observation literally brings potential realities into manifestation. The quantum field that underlies all matter behaves more like mind than machine. What if every night, through the DMT doorway opened in your sleeping brain, you're returning to this quantum field of pure potential? What if your dreams are actually moments of conscious participation in the ongoing creation of reality itself? What if the symbols, the stories, the encounters you experience while sleeping are your soul's way of helping to weave the fabric of existence? This would mean that sleep isn't passive at all. It's the most active, most creative, most important work you do. While your body rests, your consciousness is busy collaborating with the cosmic intelligence to maintain and evolve the universe itself. The divine map hidden in your sleep doesn't just show you where you can go. It shows you who you really are. Not a separate, isolated individual struggling to survive in a hostile universe, but a conscious co-creator, an eternal being temporarily having a human experience, a unique perspective through which the universe observes and knows itself. Every nightmare you've ever had isn't your psyche torturing you. It's your soul showing you what happens when you forget your true nature, when you believe in separation, when you operate from fear instead of love. Every beautiful dream you've experienced isn't wishful thinking. It's a preview of the reality you're capable of creating when you align with your divine nature. The beings you encounter in deep sleep states, whether they appear as ancestors, angels, guides, or geometric intelligences, aren't hallucinations. They're aspects of the cosmic consciousness reaching out to remind you that you're never alone, never separate, never without access to infinite wisdom and love. But here's the crucial point. This isn't just about having interesting dreams or mystical experiences during sleep. It's about integration. It's about bringing the wisdom, the love, the expanded awareness you access every night back into your waking life. It's about remembering, when you open your eyes each morning, that you just spent 8 hours swimming in the ocean of cosmic consciousness. The veil between dreaming and waking consciousness is much thinner than you've been taught to believe. With practice, with intention, with reverence for the sacred nature of sleep, you can begin to maintain continuity of awareness across both states. You can become lucid not just in your dreams, but in your life. This is what the mystics have always been pointing toward. Not escape from the world, but recognition that the world is sacred. Not transcendence of the body, but understanding that the body is a temple. Not leaving behind human experience, but realizing that human experience is divine experience in disguise. The pineal gland producing DMT during sleep isn't just a biological process. It's a sacrament. A nightly communion with the source of all existence. A chemical prayer that dissolves the illusion of separation and reminds you, at the cellular level, that you are one with everything that is. So tonight, when you lie down to sleep, you're not just ending another day. You're preparing to embark on the most sacred journey possible. You're about to return to your true home, to remember who you really are, to receive guidance from the highest intelligence in the universe. The divine map hidden in your sleep is calling you home. The only question is whether you're ready to remember what you find there. Because once you truly understand what's happening in those 8 hours of supposed unconsciousness, once you recognize the profound spiritual technology operating in your own brain, once you begin to treat sleep as the sacred ceremony it has always been, everything changes. Your dreams become dialogues. Your rest becomes revelation. Your sleep becomes the most important spiritual practice you'll ever engage in. The universe has embedded a gateway to enlightenment directly into your biology. Every night, without effort, without cost, without needing any external substances or complex techniques, you have access to the same transcendent states that mystics spend lifetimes pursuing. The divine map isn't hidden from you. It's hidden within you. And it's been guiding you home every single night of your life. The question isn't whether you can access higher dimensions of consciousness. The question is what you're going to do with the roadmap that's been downloaded into your soul every night since the day you were born. Have you ever wondered why every ancient culture across the globe treated sleep not as unconsciousness, but as the gateway to the divine? Why shamans, mystics, and spiritual teachers throughout history spoke of sleep as the time when the soul truly awakens? Tonight, I'm going to show you something that will completely transform how you see those 8 hours you spend in bed. Because what if I told you that hidden within your sleep cycles is a sacred map, a divine blueprint that's been guiding your spiritual evolution every single night of your life? Most people think sleep is just your body's way of recharging, like plugging in your phone overnight. But that's exactly what they want you to believe. The modern world has stripped sleep of its sacred meaning, reducing it to mere biology. They've convinced you that dreams are random neural firings, that consciousness simply switches off when you close your eyes. But the truth is far more extraordinary. Your sleep isn't a break from consciousness. It's consciousness expanding into dimensions your waking mind could never access. Every night, without your conscious awareness, you embark on a journey that connects you to the deepest mysteries of existence. And this journey follows a precise pattern, a divine map that's been encoded into your very being. Let me take you on a journey through what really happens when you surrender to sleep. Because once you understand this map, once you see the sacred architecture hidden within your nightly experience, you'll never look at bedtime the same way again. The first stage of this divine map begins the moment your eyes grow heavy. You think you're simply getting tired, but something far more profound is occurring. Your brainwaves start shifting from the rapid beta waves of daily consciousness into the slower, deeper alpha waves. This isn't just biology. This is your consciousness beginning to tune into frequencies that exist beyond the physical realm. As you drift deeper, you enter what science calls stage 1 sleep, but ancient wisdom traditions knew as the threshold state. This is where the veil between worlds becomes gossamer thin. Your body begins to release its grip on the physical plane while your awareness starts to expand. You might experience hypnagogic hallucinations, those strange images and sounds that seem to come from nowhere. But these aren't hallucinations at all. They're your first glimpses into the hidden realms that surround us always. Many people report feeling like they're falling during this stage, jolting awake with a start. Science calls these hypnic jerks, claiming they're just muscle spasms. But what if they're actually your soul testing the boundaries, preparing for the journey ahead? What if that sensation of falling is really the sensation of lifting, of consciousness beginning to separate from the dense vibration of matter? As you move deeper into stage 2 sleep, something remarkable happens. Your brain begins producing sleep spindles, sudden bursts of rhythmic brainwave activity. These aren't random electrical patterns. They're your consciousness synchronizing with cosmic frequencies, tuning into the universal rhythm that governs all of existence. Your body temperature drops, your heart rate slows, and you enter what the ancients called the preparation phase. But it's when you descend into deep sleep, stages 3 and 4, that the real magic begins. This is where your consciousness fully separates from the limitations of the physical body and begins its nightly pilgrimage through dimensions of reality that most people never consciously experience. Your brainwaves slow to delta frequencies, the same frequencies that mystics achieve in the deepest states of meditation. In this state, time becomes fluid. Space becomes malleable. Your consciousness is no longer bound by the laws of physics that govern the waking world. And this is where the divine map truly reveals itself, because what happens next isn't random. It follows a precise spiritual protocol that's been embedded in human consciousness since the dawn of time. Your soul begins what can only be described as a review process. Not just of the day that's passed, but of deeper patterns, karmic imprints, soul contracts that were activated by your experiences. This isn't your subconscious filing away memories. This is your higher self conducting a spiritual audit, examining how your actions, thoughts, and emotions align with your soul's purpose in this lifetime. Sometimes this review manifests as dreams, symbolic stories that your conscious mind can partially remember. But often it happens in complete silence, in dimensions of consciousness that operate beyond imagery, beyond narrative, beyond anything your waking mind could comprehend. You're literally being recalibrated, fine-tuned, aligned with your highest path. But the divine map doesn't stop there. As you move through the sleep cycles, approximately every 90 minutes, your consciousness travels to different realms, each serving a specific purpose in your spiritual evolution. During REM sleep, when your eyes dart back and forth beneath closed lids, you're not just dreaming. You're traveling. Some nights you visit the mental planes, where thought becomes form and your beliefs create the landscape around you. Here, your deepest fears and highest aspirations take on a life of their own, teaching you about the creative power of consciousness. Other nights you journey to the emotional realms, where you can finally feel and release emotions that your waking mind has been suppressing. These aren't fantasies. They're real experiences happening in dimensions that exist parallel to our physical reality. And the proof isn't just in ancient wisdom traditions or mystical texts. It's in the profound shifts you feel upon waking. Have you ever gone to bed feeling heavy with some unnamed burden, only to wake up feeling mysteriously lighter? That's not coincidence. That's your soul doing the work it came here to do. The divine map also includes what mystics call soul meetings. During certain phases of sleep, your consciousness connects with other souls, both incarnate and discarnate. You might meet with loved ones who have passed, receiving guidance that filters into your waking life as sudden insights or intuitive knowing. You might connect with your spiritual guides, receiving downloads of wisdom that emerge later as creative inspiration or problem-solving breakthroughs. Sometimes you even connect with other people who are currently alive, working out relationship dynamics, healing old wounds, or planning future encounters on a soul level. This is why you might dream of someone you haven't thought about in years, then run into them the next week. It's not coincidence. It's soul orchestration. The map also includes what ancient traditions called the Akashic journeys. During the deepest phases of sleep, your consciousness can access the Akashic records, the cosmic library where every thought, emotion, and action throughout all of time is recorded. This is where you might experience dreams that feel like memories from other lifetimes, or receive information about historical events you've never studied. But perhaps the most profound aspect of this divine map is what happens in the liminal moments between sleep cycles. As your consciousness transitions from one realm to another, there are brief windows where multiple dimensions of reality overlap. In these moments, you might experience what feels like being in two places at once, or receiving direct communication from your higher self. These are the moments when prophecy occurs, when healing happens, when soul missions are clarified. But because they exist in the spaces between conscious states, most people never remember them. They wake up with just a feeling, an intuitive knowing, a subtle shift in perspective that they can't quite explain. The divine map even includes preparation for death. Not in a morbid sense, but in the understanding that sleep and death are related phenomena. Both involve the consciousness separating from the physical body. Every night, you're practicing for the ultimate transition, becoming comfortable with the process of letting go, of existing as pure awareness without the anchor of physical form. This is why people who develop a healthy relationship with sleep often report losing their fear of death. They've experienced firsthand that consciousness continues when the body becomes still. They know, not just intellectually but experientially, that they are more than flesh and bone. But here's what's truly remarkable about this divine map. It's not just something that happens to you passively. You can learn to work with it consciously. Once you understand the sacred nature of sleep, you can begin to prepare for your nightly journeys with intention. You can set specific goals for your soul's work. You can ask for healing, for guidance, for clarity on your life's purpose. Ancient cultures knew this. They created elaborate bedtime rituals, not just for hygiene or comfort, but to prepare their consciousness for the sacred journey ahead. They would purify their energy, set intentions, and enter sleep as they would enter a temple. Because to them, sleep was worship. It was communion with the divine. The Tibetan monks developed dream yoga, a practice of maintaining awareness during sleep to accelerate their spiritual development. The ancient Egyptians built dream temples where people would sleep with the intention of receiving healing visions from the gods. Indigenous shamans across the world used sleep as a primary tool for accessing spiritual guidance and connecting with the spirit realm. What all these traditions understood is that the divine map in your sleep isn't just about what happens to you. It's about who you become through the process. Each night of conscious sleeping, of intentional journeying through the realms of consciousness, transforms you at the deepest level. You don't just wake up rested. You wake up evolved. But the modern world has convinced you to ignore this map, to treat these profound spiritual experiences as meaningless neural static. They've medicalized sleep, pathologized dreams, and stripped away the sacred context that gives these experiences their true power. They want you unconscious, not just during sleep, but during waking life too. Because a person who understands the divine map hidden in their sleep is a person who understands that consciousness is infinite, that reality is multi-layered, that the physical world is just one small slice of a vast, interconnected cosmos. And that understanding changes everything. It changes how you see yourself, how you navigate relationships, how you make decisions, how you face challenges. When you know that every night you're connecting with your highest self, receiving guidance from spiritual teachers, working out karma with other souls, and downloading wisdom from cosmic sources, you stop feeling alone. You stop feeling lost. You realize you're part of an intricate spiritual ecosystem that's constantly supporting your growth and evolution. The divine map also reveals why certain sleep disturbances occur. What mainstream science dismisses as sleep disorders might actually be spiritual initiations. Sleep paralysis, for instance, often occurs when your consciousness is trying to separate from your body for an out-of-body experience, but fear keeps you locked in a liminal state. Instead of seeing this as pathology, ancient traditions viewed it as an opportunity for spiritual development. Insomnia might be your soul calling you to pay attention to unresolved spiritual issues. Recurring nightmares could be your psyche's way of bringing shadow material to the surface for healing. Even sleep talking and sleepwalking might be manifestations of your consciousness working through spiritual material that's too intense for your waking mind to process. The key is learning to read the map, to understand what your sleep patterns and experiences are telling you about your spiritual journey. This requires developing a different relationship with sleep, one based on reverence rather than mere necessity, on curiosity rather than fear, on trust rather than control. Start by creating a sacred sleep environment. This doesn't mean expensive sheets or fancy meditation cushions. It means approaching your bedroom as you would approach a temple. Clear the energy regularly. Set intentions before you sleep. Keep a dream journal by your bed. Create rituals that signal to your consciousness that you're preparing for sacred work. Pay attention to your dreams, even the fragments you remember. They're not random images but symbolic communications from your deeper self. Look for patterns, recurring symbols, emotional themes. These are clues to what your soul is working on during your nightly journeys. Practice gratitude for your sleep. Instead of seeing it as time lost, recognize it as time invested in your spiritual evolution. Thank your higher self for the work it does while your conscious mind rests. Acknowledge the healing, the guidance, the soul connections that occur beyond your awareness. Most importantly, trust the process. The divine map embedded in your sleep has been guiding human consciousness for millennia. It knows what it's doing, even when your rational mind doesn't understand. Your job isn't to control the journey but to surrender to it with awareness and intention. Because here's the profound truth that changes everything. You're not a human being who occasionally has spiritual experiences during sleep. You're a spiritual being who temporarily takes on human form, and sleep is when you remember who you really are. The divine map isn't hidden from you. It's hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to recognize the sacred in what you've been taught to see as ordinary. Tonight, when you close your eyes and feel consciousness beginning to shift, remember that you're not powering down. You're powering up. You're connecting with the infinite field of awareness that is your true nature. You're following a divine map that's been lovingly crafted to guide you home to yourself, one sacred sleep at a time. The ancient mystics were right. Sleep isn't the opposite of awakening. It's where true awakening begins. And the map has been there all along, encoded in your consciousness, waiting for you to remember how to read it. Tonight, you begin that remembering. Tonight, you reclaim the sacred nature of your sleep. Tonight, you follow the divine map home. Have you ever woken up from a dream so vivid that reality itself felt like the dream? That moment when you're caught between two worlds, unsure which one holds the deeper truth? What if I told you that this confusion isn't confusion at all, but recognition? That your soul is trying to remind you of something extraordinary that most people never discover? Tonight, when you close your eyes, you're not just going to sleep. You're crossing a bridge into dimensions where your deepest healing awaits. But here's what nobody tells you about this journey. The place you visit each night isn't separate from who you are. It is who you are, unveiled. Think about the last time you had a dream that felt more real than your waking life. Maybe you were flying effortlessly through landscapes that don't exist on any map, or perhaps you had a conversation with someone who knew things about you that you'd forgotten yourself. That wasn't your imagination running wild. That was your consciousness expanding beyond the narrow corridors of everyday thinking, stretching into territories where profound transformation becomes possible. Your soul doesn't sleep when your body does. While your physical form rests, your deeper self embarks on journeys that can reshape your entire existence. It visits places of healing where old wounds are gently mended, where fears dissolve like shadows at dawn, where answers to questions you haven't even asked yet wait patiently for your arrival. Most people treat their dreams like random mental static, meaningless fragments to be forgotten by breakfast. But when you start paying attention to these nightly adventures, something miraculous begins to unfold. You realize you've been receiving guidance all along, wisdom delivered in symbols and metaphors that speak directly to your soul's language. Every night, your consciousness sheds the heavy armor of daily worries, societal expectations, and limiting beliefs. In this stripped-down state, you become receptive to truths that would normally bounce off your defended mind. This is why breakthrough insights often come not during intense meditation or therapy sessions, but in the quiet moments after awakening, when dream wisdom still lingers like morning mist. Your inner healer knows exactly what you need. While your conscious mind might be focused on surface problems, your dreaming consciousness addresses root causes. It guides you through emotional landscapes where healing happens not through force or effort, but through gentle witnessing and acceptance. Sometimes you return with clear memories of this work. Sometimes you wake feeling mysteriously lighter without knowing why. The most profound healers in history understood this secret. They knew that sleep wasn't downtime but sacred time. They approached their beds not as places of unconsciousness but as portals to expanded awareness. They trusted that their souls would do the deep work while their minds rested, bringing back exactly what was needed for the next day's challenges. When you begin honoring your dream life as a legitimate source of healing and wisdom, your entire relationship with sleep transforms. You start preparing for bed with intention rather than exhaustion. You might find yourself asking questions before sleep, setting gentle intentions for what you'd like to explore or heal. And remarkably, your dreams begin responding to this attention, becoming clearer, more meaningful, more directly helpful. This isn't about becoming a dream expert or remembering every detail. It's about developing trust in your soul's innate wisdom. Even when you wake without clear memories, the healing work continues at levels beyond conscious awareness. You might notice subtle shifts throughout your days. Old patterns that once felt immovable start loosening their grip. Emotional reactions that used to overwhelm you become more manageable. Clarity emerges where confusion once clouded your thinking. The boundary between sleeping and waking begins to blur in beautiful ways. You start recognizing dream logic in daily synchronicities. A song on the radio completes a conversation you were having in a dream. A chance encounter provides exactly the insight your sleeping mind was processing. Life becomes more fluid, more meaningful, as if you're living within a larger story that makes sense across both conscious and unconscious states. Your healing doesn't happen in isolation during sleep. It integrates into your waking world through increased intuition, deeper compassion for yourself and others, and a growing sense of connection to something larger than your individual struggles. You begin trusting your inner knowing because you've experienced firsthand how much wisdom flows through you when your rational mind steps aside. This is why some cultures honored sleep as a time of communion with the divine. They understood that healing isn't something you do but something you allow. In sleep, you naturally release the tight control your ego maintains over your experience. You become receptive to currents of healing energy that flow through all existence but are often blocked by excessive thinking and striving. Your dreams become a bridge between who you've been and who you're becoming. They show you possibilities you hadn't considered, strengths you didn't know you possessed, and perspectives that can transform your understanding of current challenges. They offer healing not just for present wounds but for patterns that may have been limiting you for years. As you develop this relationship with your sleeping consciousness, you discover that true healing often happens in spirals rather than straight lines. Progress might seem invisible day to day, but over time you notice profound shifts in how you respond to life. Old triggers lose their power. Self-compassion becomes more natural. You find yourself accessing wisdom that seems to come from beyond your personal experience. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, remember that you're not shutting down but opening up. You're not escaping reality but accessing deeper layers of it. Your bed becomes an altar where conscious and unconscious minds meet to weave healing into the fabric of your being. Trust this process. Honor it. Let your soul show you the profound healer that you've always been, waiting patiently in the sacred darkness for your recognition. Because when you embrace sleep as a pathway to healing, you never truly sleep unconsciously again. You rest as someone who knows that every night offers another opportunity to remember your wholeness, to release what no longer serves, and to awaken more fully to the magnificent being you've always been beneath all the layers of forgetting.